White House is now hinting at the possibility of working with moderate Democrats on key agenda items after the first attempt at major legislation by the president went down in flames. Joining me now, Congressman Gregory Meeks, representing New York's 5th District, member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. So, Congressman, will you work with the president if he asks you to?
Well, the question is what the president wants to do and what Republicans want to do. You know, Democrats all along have said that we are willing to work together to fix the Affordable Care Act. It has been the Republicans who, under the last administration, brought up over 60 times to repeal the Affordable Care Act. It has been the president and the Republicans who have refused to sit down with Democrats at all, unlike what Barack Obama did when we brought the Affordable Care Act over 13 months. Many of the amendments that were put in place were Republican amendments. It has been the Republicans that have decided that they would not.
Sounds like you're saying no, Congressman.
No, well, I'm saying that if the Republicans want to come down and say that, yes, the Affordable Care Act is good for all Americans, as it is, but there are some things that we need to do, put in place that can help repair it and fix it, we can sit down and work that out. Okay, Democrats have always been willing to do that.
Let's put the Affordable Care Act on the back burner just for a moment, and let's go to the next agenda items for the president. He did seem to indicate at one point or another in the blaming of who was responsible for the torpedoing of this bill, but in between that, he did seem to say that he was open to working with Democrats, maybe down the line. So if he goes to tax reform as his next agenda item, is there a circumstance where you could find yourself working with the president on tax reform?
Well, see, my problem is whatever the president has said, he's never lived up to it. So my problem is the credibility
it's only
of the
been
president.
Like 60 days. I mean,
right, 60 days. Everything he said during the campaign. You know, right now, he said that he never said that. He said repeal the Affordable Care Act. He goes back and says, I never said that. So I don't know about this president or where he is. If he is serious, if he wants to sit down and talk about long as you're talking about, say, for infrastructure reform, and it's not just about tax cuts, then maybe there's something that we can do there. Or if the tax cuts are not just for the richest 1% of Americans, then maybe there's something that we can work there. But everything that the president has done and said is contrary to what I think where most of working class and poor Americans are.
While President Obama was in office, the Republican Party was the party of no. Do Democrats now risk becoming the new version of the party of no? Is this just a calculated effort by Democrats to wait till the midterms to say, let them sink each other, and we're going to try and get our majorities back?
Again, no one did like Senator McConnell did, that said that their priority was to make sure that Barack Obama was not a successful president. That's not what Democrats are saying. Democrats are standing on saying that we want to work together with the president and all Republicans if, in fact, we're putting forward an agenda that's going to help the American people, not just the top 1%. And so you've got to look at and evaluate what is being brought forward. And everything that has been brought forward, and I agree that it's only been 40-some-odd days or 60-some-odd days, whatever it is, has been devastating. Look what has been brought forward and what this president's talked about. Talking about a Muslim ban, talking about the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. He's talking about tax cuts, basically what the Affordable Care is for just the top 1%. Then all the issues with Russia and those dialogues and conversations. So you got to take it in its entirety to make decisions on how you move forward. If we can come up with something that is clear that we can sit down and work with that's going to benefit the American people, of course Democrats will work with them.
Congressman, let's just presume maybe the president is watching. What would be on your wish list for tax reform? What message would you like to give to him directly right now?
Well, I think the tax reform that we should be looking at is how do we help working class Americans, the individuals who have been working every day, who may not make more than $250,000. If you live in New York, that's a working class person. $250,000 and less. How are we going to make sure that they have an opportunity to get some tax relief and make sure that they continue to have the kind of health care that they need, make sure that they continue to have the kind of services that government provides that they need without gutting it, that we've got to redo what his budget is. Because if you look at his budget and how his proposed proposed budget would affect working class Americans, it will devastate them. And so you've got to look at the budget priorities along with tax reform. You can't take something out of context. It all works hand in hand, and how it affects overall working class Americans and poor Americans.
New York Democratic Congressman Gregory Meeks with a message to the president. We appreciate your time, sir.